My coworkers keep asking about my assault. I'm an executive assistant at an accounting firm, which means that this time of year, I'm averaging between 70 hours a week. By nature of spending that much time with them, I'm much closer with my coworkers than I have been at any other workplace. I was recently assaulted after a horrible date went catastrophically wrong, leaving me with a very obvious bruise on my lip from being bitten and fingerprints on one of my forearms. I've been wearing long sleeves to obscure the fingerprint bruising, but no amount of concealer has been enough to hide the teeth marks on my lip. Under normal circumstances, I would probably take a week off to try and recover physically and mentally, but with the tax deadline coming up, there's just way too much to do for that to be an option, and I can't work from home. Taking the time off would mean adding at least 15 hours of work to every other admin's plate, and doing that would only make me feel worse about the situation. Obviously, I would prefer not to recount the details of a very traumatic incident over and over again, but every time I walk to the break room, copier, or bathroom, I find myself cornered by another well-meaning coworker who wants to interrogate me about what happened. A simple, "I'm fine, but would prefer not to discuss it," hasn't been enough to deter the increasingly intrusive questions, even when firmly repeated. The general response when I push back on giving more information is something along the lines of, "I need to make sure you're safe. But we're friends. Why don't you trust me enough to tell me?" Or, "You can't come into the office looking like that and expect us not to ask questions." We're a small accounting firm, so we don't have an HR department. And the person who would probably handle an HR issue is the person trying the hardest to get more information out of me. I understand the bruising is quite shocking, but I feel like I'm entitled to privacy during what has become a very difficult period of my life. Just convincing myself to show up to work at all is taking everything I have. At this point, what can I do? Update 1. One of the other admins in my office, Jane, would not leave me alone about it. She said she just wanted to help, so I tried your suggestion and said that what I really needed was to stop being asked about it constantly and asked her to help field off the rest of the office. I said that I knew everyone meant well, although at this point I was really doubting whether that was true, but being interrogated about it 50 times a day was making it impossible to focus on my work, and that if she could discreetly tell our coworkers to cut it out, I would be very grateful. She agreed, but instead of doing anything helpful, she convinced another of our coworkers, Jack, that cornering me in the kitchen and refusing to let me leave unless I told him what happened would solve all of my issues. From what I pieced together after the fact, she thought that I wasn't telling anyone what happened because I was afraid of whoever did this to me, and that having a strong man on my side to protect me would fix it. Later that afternoon, I went to the kitchen to make a mug of tea, and Jack came up behind me to ask about the bruises again. I didn't know he was there, so I jumped when he started talking, then tried scooting past him so I wouldn't be blocked into a small room by a very large and strong man. He put his hand up on the wall to prevent me from leaving, and said he wasn't going to move until I told him what happened. I feel somewhat bad about this, but I completely lost it on him. Everything had been building up for days at this point, and I just couldn't take it anymore. The constant pestering was hard enough, but being physically trapped by a man so soon after being assaulted pushed me over the edge. I started yelling, "What the fuck do you think happened, Jack? Are the literal bite marks not enough to get the point across? I have been doing everything I can to keep coming in here every day so that everyone else won't have to take on another 15 hours of work this week, when all I want to do is curl up into a ball and die, and the only thanks I get is to constantly be cornered and interrogated about my face. I think it's pretty clear what happened. I don't understand why you think this is any of your goddamn business. I am traumatized. I am trying to do everyone here a favor in the middle of the worst thing that has ever happened to me, and every single one of you has only made things 10 times worse. You are not helping, and I cannot do this anymore." I was hysterically sobbing. Jack was stumbling over himself, trying to apologize and get out of my way. And since literally everyone in the office was within earshot of me yelling, every other coworker was either staring at us horrified or guiltily trying to avoid eye contact with me. I didn't have it in me to try and do anything else, so I walked to my desk, grabbed my keys, and left everything else behind. Luckily, I was able to get an emergency session with my therapist scheduled that evening, where we decided that a few days in an inpatient facility would be hugely beneficial in my recovery. I'm still frustrated with my office, because I don't think that would have been necessary had they just listened to me. But it is what it is. I notified my immediate supervisor that I would be using PTO for the rest of the tax season, and that I was planning on returning at the end of April, but I'd be in touch with more specific details when I was able. My office pays for every employee, and a +1 to go on a week-long, all expenses paid vacation to Costa Rica right after tax season ends as a thank you for all of our hard work. I almost didn't go because I was so afraid of seeing my coworkers again after my outburst, but I decided I'd worked too damn hard to turn down a very expensive stay in an all-inclusive resort. The airport gate was the first time I'd seen anyone since my breakdown, and it was incredibly awkward. For the most part, people seemed too ashamed to talk to me at all. One of my supervisors did come over to personally apologize for not stepping in earlier and said that the entire company really just wanted me to enjoy the vacation. She said she couldn't think of a single member of our team who deserved it more than me, and that she didn't want to get into things until we were actually back at work, but wanted to tell me that I would not be facing any repercussions, so that I didn't have to worry about it while I was supposed to be on vacation. She also let me know that the company would be upgrading me from economy to business on the flight there and back, giving me a gift certificate for the resort spa, issuing me a bonus in my next paycheck as a token of their appreciation for all my hard work, as well as granting me an extra week of PTO to replace the time off I'd had to use at the end of tax season. The resort ended up being big enough that I didn't see a single one of my coworkers the entire week we were there, which I will forever be grateful for. Seeing as my life is not an episode of Criminal Minds, I'm still pretty upset with the way my coworkers treated me in their quest for juicy information. However, the bonus I received will more than cover my mental health care expenses since I'm lucky enough to have very good health insurance. Sitting in the sun on a beautiful beach did wonders for my state of mind, and not a single intrusive question has been asked since I've returned to the office. I've received handwritten apologies from both Jack and Jane that seem very genuine. My clients were all handled perfectly while I was out, and for the most part, things have gone back to normal. My biggest takeaway is that I'm allowed to advocate for myself and my needs, and that even if it's inconvenient, your company will always find a way to make it work. I will absolutely be taking the time off in the future if I need it, as I probably could have avoided a lot of the stress I've experienced over the past month if I had just done that from the start. Honestly, I just hope I can move on, and that my coworkers have learned that a good bit of gossip is not more important than someone's actual feelings. Editor's note: I liked this person's comment on the update post, and it's a good reminder for us. I know everyone means well, but can we not do the "I can't believe she didn't do XYZ" or "she should have done XYZ" or "I would have done XYZ" thing? Speaking as someone with who's been assaulted, you don't *no* how you'd react in that situation. People have different threat responses, flee/fight/freeze/fawn, and they're not usually voluntary. Even people who have self-defense training sometimes freeze, and especially if you have a freeze or fawn reaction, it can feel like criticism when people are like, "Why didn't you knee him?" or "I would have punched him." People who freeze get shamed for letting it happen, and people who fawn, that is, try to de-escalate or diffuse the situation, get shamed for going along with it. Well, sometimes the answer is, I literally could not move. I couldn't get the kick him signal or the run signal from my brain to my muscles. I thought of doing it. I tried to do it. And nothing happened. Or sometimes it's that you literally couldn't even think of doing it. That in the moment, it doesn't even occur to you that it's an option because your physiological response is overwhelming and shutting down any rational functioning. If were OP and I were reading this, which I very much hope she is not after having been traumatized by her attacker, and then re-traumatized by her employer and co-workers, responses that can be read as, "You should have done what I imagine I would have done," when you were physically trapped by a man trying to force you to relieve your assault for him, can also be a form of re-traumatization. Update 2. I am still working for the same company, and I truly love my job. After everything that happened, the owners have really gone above and beyond in supporting me. About a month after my previous update, Jack and Jane both left the company. Officially, they both resigned, but the owners of the firm let me know that had they not resigned, they would have been fired. The owners also let me know that they wanted to let the two of them go immediately after what happened, but due to some behind-the-scenes issues with clients and contracts, it wasn't a feasible option. They apologized profusely for any additional distress that caused me. They held individual meetings with the remaining members of my office to review appropriate ways to express concern for your coworkers, and issued strong reminders that it is not acceptable to keep pushing for answers when someone says no. I was given a private office to help me feel safer at work, so I can protect my own space and never have to worry about someone walking up behind me. Typically, our office doors don't have locks on them, but they installed one on mine to give me some extra peace of mind. After tax season ended, I was told to take off at least 3 weeks, which were fully paid and not withdrawn from my PTO balance, to rest, recover, and go do something fun. I ended up taking a full month off at the beginning of the summer. I spent a lot of that time backpacking, which really helped me regain a sense of control over my life and body, and develop a lot of trust in my own strength. Those couple of weeks spent in the desert mountains, along with some intensive therapy, were exactly what I needed to feel okay returning to work and everyday life. I had my annual review about 2 weeks ago, and I was extremely nervous going into it. I didn't meet a lot of the goals I should have this year due to everything that happened, so I wasn't sure how the meeting would go. It was amazing. I met with the owners of the company and the 2 partners that I assist. They opened by acknowledging that I had experienced some truly extenuating circumstances this year, some of which were directly their fault, and said that given everything going on, I had worked harder than anyone would have expected me to. In their eyes, I had not only met all of my goals, I had vastly exceeded them. They said they had nothing but the highest praise for me and will do whatever they can to keep me long term. They gave me a 10% raise and changed my compensation structure so that despite being a salaried employee, I will be paid out at my hourly rate for unused comp time at the end of every fiscal year in an extra paycheck. I was already being paid pretty generously, but with the new compensation structure, it feels a little crazy to see my projected pay for the year. My mom has a master's degree and 30 years of work experience, and only makes half of what I do, and I don't even have an associate's degree. Ultimately, I feel like the owners of the firm realized that their inaction at the start of this whole mess is what enabled things to get as bad as they did, and I feel confident that nothing like it will ever happen again. They've really done a lot to make it clear how much they adore me and appreciate my work. I would be happy to stay long term. Recovering from the aftermath of the assault has required a lot of hard work on my part, but overall, I feel like my life is actually in a much better place now than it was before. I was able to move out of the 600 square foot apartment I was sharing with 2 roommates and into my own apartment with my 2 cats. I had to withdraw from all of my classes after the assault, but this semester I was able to start taking part-time classes again. I recently started dating a wonderful man who is incredibly kind and so patient with me. After our first kiss, I had a panic attack. PTSD really knows how to spice things up, which was mortifying, but he stayed with me until it passed, and then for another hour to make sure I was actually okay. He's been amazing at checking in with me to make sure I'm comfortable and constantly reassures me that nothing is wrong with me. I really wondered whether I'd ever feel safe again, but I can honestly say that even though life looks a little different than I had imagined, I feel happy and stable. Thank you, and the commenters, for all of the kind suggestions and support. It has really meant a lot to know that I have so many people rooting for me.